Oh, Shember, we want you to be an activist. And don't take our word for it. Look that shit up. Pulley. I'm not sharing. Okay, let me share. My bad, y'all. See, that's what sucks when I'm by myself.
Envoys, they were asking India to apologize. Actions, they say, speak louder than words. We've all heard this proverb. But you know what's even louder sometimes? Inaction, silence. That's what we're talking about tonight, the silence of the Muslim world. Wasn't the case a few days back. Every Muslim country was on the charge. They were summoning Indian envoys. They were asking India to apologize, all because of one inappropriate comment. We told you about this on Monday. A BJP spokesperson insulted the Prophet on a TV debate. The comments were unacceptable, so India reacted. The spokesperson has now been suspended, and the government has rejected her remarks. Ideally, the matter should have ended there, except it hasn't. The Al-Qaeda is now threatening India. Their offshoot in the subcontinent has published a letter. Frankly, it's a declaration of war. Let me tell you what it says. The saffron terrorists should now await their end in Delhi, Bombay, UP, and Gujarat. They should find refuge neither in their homes nor in their fortified army cantonments. This is what the Al-Qaeda letter says. They're talking about suicide bombings. They're talking about attacking Indian cities. What have Muslim nations said about this? Absolutely nothing. Not a word of condemnation, no political outrage, not even a media report. Remember, Qatar kicked off this Gulf outrage over the weekend, but their channel, their state-owned channel, Al Jazeera, has not even reported this terror threat. Not a single mention. Same for Saudi Arabia, Iran, Kuwait, Oman, Egypt. All these countries lined up to condemn India, but all of them are silent on Al-Qaeda.
See, and that's the reason why this channel gets to get play. Gravitas. Because they are tooting the line. Like, I like her take on a lot of stuff, but when you hear them talk about local stuff, that's when you start hearing what they really about. And it's really like the Democrats over here, like the establishment, Democratic establishment, MSNBC, and how they present news. But anyways, so the argument about, so what about the Muslim countries? Why aren't they saying anything? But like, first off, Al-Qaeda is like nothing. Like really, what kind of damage they really gonna do to a country like India, bro? Come on, man. They don't have no power like that. Okay, maybe they could blow a couple buildings up or something. I don't even see that happening. But you know, the thing about the Islamic countries saying something, all these countries have different agendas, different alliances, different fucking ethnicities. They don't necessarily align with each other just because they have the same religion. You know what I'm saying? First off. And second off, what India is doing to the Muslims is clearly foul. We just played some videos earlier. It's clearly foul what's happening. Or did I play the video that explains the shit? Anyway, either way, it's clearly foul what's happening. And India doesn't want to freaking admit that. But they're like, oh, why y'all want to talk about Al-Qaeda talking about coming over here and blowing up stuff? They're talking about blowing up our stuff. You Muslim countries should be standing together and denouncing Al-Qaeda. Like they have some kind of fucking, alliance with Al-Qaeda just because they're Muslim. These people are Muslim, but they don't have no fucking alliance with these people that call themselves Al-Qaeda. Come on, bro. That's common fucking sense.
I would have included Afghanistan and Pakistan, but frankly, what's the point? Both these countries host Al-Qaeda inside their borders, so expecting them to condemn is pointless. But what about Riyadh or Abu Dhabi? These countries, the so-called allies in the war on terror, why are they silent? Because they stand to gain nothing. There are no points for criticizing Al-Qaeda. But criticizing India, that's an attractive prospect. Muslim nations used one comment from India to rally their community, to evoke strong emotions, and look where it's gotten us. Today, terror groups are threatening to strike India, groups that are funded and backed by the same countries. Let's start with Qatar. Name any terror group, chances are Qatar funds them. Hamas, Kataib, Hezbollah, Al Qaeda, Taliban, Islamic Jihad, all these groups are sponsored by Qatar. I'll give you one example. Khalifa Turki Al Subai. He was an employee at Qatar Central Bank. Today, he runs a real estate company in Doha. The US accuses this man of financing 9/11. He was sanctioned by international agencies. But in Doha, he's living the perfect life: money, safety, peace of mind, everything. Next up is Kuwait. It is said to be the leading financier of Al Qaeda and ISIS. In 2014, US officials accused a Kuwaiti minister of funding jihad in Syria. Let me repeat that. A Kuwaiti minister was funding terrorism. Weeks later, he had to step down. How can we expect these countries to condemn the Al Qaeda then? They're sponsors of terrorism. They use terror as a state policy. So their outrage this weekend was not really religious. It was political. It was meant to trigger the Muslim community. Just think about it. The Organization of Islamic Cooperation had so much to say. They wanted the United Nations to act against India. But what has the OIC said about Palestine? Or the Uyghur Muslims in China? Or Yemen? Absolutely nothing. Let me show you.
Those comments are valid. All of that, what she said, is valid. But I'll say Qatar is terrible. Saudi Arabia, people, terrible. I mean, I was distracted by a text, but I don't know which other country she mentioned. But, again, all Muslims aren't on the same team or whatever, just because they have the same religion. And these people are horrible people. Like, they're Muslims and they're horrible people. So trying to put them in the same boat with the rest of them is not fair. But what she's saying is right.
Show you a report that was published today by the United Nations. It says Israel wants to, quote unquote, take complete control over Palestinian land. How many statements has the Organization of Islamic Countries released against this? None. How many against the war in Yemen? None. So it's all about political convenience, about picking soft targets. And in this case, India was a soft target: an inclusive democracy, a secular society, and a responsible power. So every Muslim nation hopped on the bandwagon. They used India to fulfill their agenda, and the fallout is this. It's for India to suffer alone. Because this threat by Al Qaeda cannot be taken lightly. State police forces are on high alert. Intelligence agencies are on the lookout. Basically, India is alone in facing this threat. Meanwhile, what are the likes of Qatar and Kuwait up to? The same routine: suppress dissent, dismantle women's rights, and fund terrorism. So in conclusion, let me say this. You cannot judge a country based on one person's wrong remarks, but you can judge a country based on its response. In this case, India did the right thing. Was it late? Yes, it was, but the right thing was done. We can't say the same about the Gulf states. When it suits them, they criticize. When it doesn't suit them, they're silent. And that silence speaks volumes of their hypocrisy. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now.
Hold on.
Meanwhile, what are the likes of Qatar and Kuwait up to? The same routine: suppress dissent, dismantle women's rights, and fund terrorism. So
Qatar and Kuwait, yeah, they suck.
in conclusion, let me say this. You cannot judge a country based on one person's wrong remarks, but you can judge a country based on its response. In this case, India did the right thing. Was it late? Yes, it was, but the right thing was done. We can't say the same about the Gulf states. When it suits them, they criticize. When it doesn't suit them, they're silent. And that silence.
And she's all like, poor India, poor India. Oh, we're all alone in this. They're all ganging up on us. Boo, boo, boo. Whatever, bruh. India's a big boy on the global stage, bruh. They're not weak. Okay? She's acting like India's a victim. Come on now. I know better than that. Try again. Let me see. It was I really want to see her. Can I get away with this? I already got in trouble tonight.
It wasn't said so strongly. Nothing really. There was generally an non-appreciation of me hanging out with Hindu friends. So there was not a clear thing that don't hang out with Hindus, but discouragement. Where are you going? Hey, he's a Hindu. You don't even know how they would have coped. Why are you going to their birthday party or something? Whereas if I have a Muslim friend, he was somewhat more welcome.
So, yeah, in my family, I think I have actually seen my parents neglect a lot of my Muslim friends, and very sternly, my mother specifically walk up to me and tell me that don't make Muslim friends. Or, whenever there was a Muslim friend's birthday party, she would tell me not to go there. So there was this very cold environment. Like I would see my mother not treating them very well, not sitting with them or trying to even initiate a discussion. It really needs to be stopped. You can't let your kids grow in such a venomous environment that it ultimately takes a toll on them. And when they grow up, they start just hating the other community to such an extent that they can't even engage in discussions with them.
Yeah.
Can we have the disappearers come forward?
My experience was quite the opposite. In my house, actually, my sister's best friend was Muslim. She used to live in our colony, and for every Diwali, it's like she didn't have anywhere to go or anything to do. So she used to spend Diwali with us. So my family's been very accepting.
So for my parents, it was never a choice because most of my friends were Muslims only. So there was no choice for them to stop me somewhere. But yes, it was communicated to our parents, never marry a girl outside your.
What I really enjoy whenever someone from a different religion would come to the house, then the level of curiosity that my parents would have.
Absolutely.
And that's also something very bad about our society. After 1,000 years of coexistence, there is still curiosity. How dumb are we? Like you still don't know about the other person.
I've been married to a Muslim boy by my own will and choice, of course, against my parents' will. They still don't speak to my husband at all. They have cordial relations with me, which I think I've, over the time, come to accept that it's okay. If they don't want to talk to him, it's their decision at the end of the day, and I need to respect it.
Someone I know has died because of this conflict.
We being Kashmiri Pandits are treated as a minority community in Jammu and Kashmir. And because of this religious extremism, my father was assassinated when I was at the age of 15 or 16. All the house was coordinated by militants, and he was taken from my place, and he was assassinated. Because of this religious conflict, certain innocents are being targeted, and if the extremism and conflicts will go on, such things will happen.
I think a lot of us are just tongue-tied for now. But if I may, I think I just have had a lot of respect for you, like right now, because I think it takes a lot to be a first-hand victim of a crime and then still not develop that hatred and let that hatred get so much to you that you start blaming an entire community for it. Because at the end, you have to realize that an individual or few individuals belonging to that community were actually responsible for it and not the entire community. So I think if we actually had people like you who were so practical and understanding, we wouldn't be in the situation we are in today.
No, that's actually very true. I've spent a lot of time in Jammu and Kashmir. My father was in the army. We were posted there for a long time. I've seen a lot of terrorism and a lot of violence in front of me. We didn't go to school for many months because of that, so I've lost out big chunks of my childhood. Yeah. Initially, when you had introduced yourself and you said you were a Kashmiri Pandit, I was immediately filled with fear because I've had a lot of negativity from people who tend to harbor hate against people with literally just my surname. for, of course, things that have happened terrible in their lives. But to see somebody emerge from such a situation and then still come out the other side with the level of maturity that you're able to, show right now, it's really incredible to see.
What you have been through, given that despite that personal tragedy, you have managed to keep yourself just and fair. My salute to you. And if it matters, I doubt it does, but as a part of a Muslim community, I am terribly sorry for your loss.
See, that's the problem. I mean, you can be sorry to him. Why do you have to take the blame for it?
Exactly.
That is something that I don't understand. None of my business, not my problem. Some people did it. I am the representative for myself. That doesn't make me absolute in the sense to represent that entire culture. It's just a tiny facet.
It does.
No, actually,
Why?
when you start being apologetic for the entire community is actually when you start giving the other side the chance to blame the entire community.
Pallavi made a point. So she said that like if everybody was like him, we wouldn't be here at all. But I want to just take to the other side, because to go what he has gone through, I believe the pain would be immense. And if that means that I lash out at society, at the perpetrators, at whoever or whatever was responsible, I believe that there is scope for understanding those kind of violent actions.
No, absolutely not. I so disagree with that point of view. We'd be living in an uncivilized and lawless society if we actually start propagating thoughts like this, that, being violent is okay at a point. Your aggression, your being upset at the situation, the immense pain that you have felt, I'm sure people are going to understand. But saying that, it's justified for me to be violent.
I'm not saying it's justified. I'm not saying it's justified.
If I understand what he's trying to say is, if he goes out because his family was subjected to violence and he kills somebody, what he's saying actually that killing somebody is bad, that is not a justification for killing, but probably what he's saying is that when it comes to punishing him, the history which existed, so that should serve as not a defense against his crime, but a mitigating circumstance.
No, but then
This guy understands me so well.
Then
How's that going to change anything?
Exactly.
I think
Then
that's the middle ground.
How does that make
That's the
him
middle
different
ground.
from the people who assassinated his father? How does that make him different then?
See, what
Because
Pallavi is
he
saying
also
is
went
that-
ahead and
that,
shot those
see,
people. Those
blaming
people
an
shot
entire
his father.
community
So
is
where
not
is the difference?
an answer to that. So we can justify by doing through individual, but blaming a complete community is not justifying.
Yeah.
So that is what Pallavi, and I also agree on that.
Government has created more divide between Hindus and Muslims.
Really? Are you guys not coming forward?
So I think, of course, you have reports after reports. In fact, there is a New York Times post that has clearly said, and I quote, that, the data of hate crime in India gets released based on who the hater is. So when the government of India decides to release the data on hate crimes in India, and it excludes lynchings of minorities and only puts forward, certain facts where the majority is favored, crimes against majority, I think, of course, the government has a huge agenda to serve in pleasing the majority.
If there would have been a time angle to this prompt, that would have made it, much more simpler for all of us. Because I feel post-independence, all the governments in this country have actually done nothing good for the majority and for the minority on a very social sense. Economic indicators we are not counting in. So the governments have definitely done. That's why we are where we are right now.
Make no mistake, government since 1950s wouldn't have done anything. I agree with you. But 2014 onwards, we have a government who has an official policy to discriminate against Muslims. We have this kurbani, the sacrifice of the animal, and it takes place at our village. And we go to village and bring back the meat. From last 2 years, we are not bringing back the meat because we believe traveling with the meat is very dangerous. They'll stop you and they'll lynch you saying that it's cow. So it's this government has multiplied hate and hate crimes exponentially. It is not something which is just happening and they're apathetic about it. This is their policy. And these are, seasoned politicians making very absurd claims, that you should go to Pakistan and all. And you and I may think that they're buffoons and idiots. But what they're doing actually is they're normalizing it.
Yeah.
unlike Congress, on which this politician has said it very right, Congress may be corrupt, I agree with you, but this government has overtaken the institutions so completely. The judiciary, the investigating agencies, the media.
Yeah.
So I think
I mean,
does
all
this-
of that was already
No.
taken
not so
over
much.
on
No,
different
I think
degrees
that's living
for
in
a
Not so
complete
much.
long
denial.
time.
That's living in complete. Governments before this must have done this. What we are seeing now is a support towards all
basically
of
you
this.
were,
They support it blatantly. It's happening without any regret that they're violating
So
the
the problem is the
constitution,
degree
they're
here.
violating law. There's open support for it. When did we see previous governments supporting it? They at least had the knack and the shame to go ahead and oppose it, even on the face of it. Even though you know in your head, they must have in some way had a hand in this. But they never supported it openly. What we see now is open, blatant, shameless support, and it has led to such violent situation on the ground. Like he correctly said, people are being lynched for just carrying meat.
Shit, they put that segment in the middle.
I don't think it's the government who did the lynchings. And the people who did the lynching, they have been arrested. And even our Prime Minister has said several times that it has denounced those acts. So
I
I
think
don't
you're-
think it's the government who's not doing. It's a law and order issue in UP, and it should be looked at as that.
You're naive, buddy.
Secondly, I don't think the government is increasing the divide between Hindus and Muslims. I think the divide has always been there since the partition. Second of all, speaking to the Ram Mandir issue, there my stance is the Muslims have thousands of mosques all over the world, but Ram was born only at one place, right? So I personally believe that the Ram Mandir should have been there, and the Supreme Court has given Islamic society the right to build a mosque right beside. And like it would be like, why would we ever want to take Kaaba away from you? It's like that. That place is too special to us than it is to you. And just out of magnanimity, I would like it would be magnanimous of the Muslims to just give that. But I'm not really emotional about that issue. It could have gone either way, and I would have been fine with it.
What you're saying is that the Muslims should have shown magnanimity, is what the general view would have been, and the Supreme Court has gone by it. Just because they're minority, they're weak, they're less in number, let them come forward and show magnanimity. Na? Hum to majority, why should we show magnanimity? And let's not forget that a mosque did exist at that place that was demolished. There is proper videographic evidence to show that people were on top of the tomb and they demolished that mosque. And then you say, give it to us, give the place to us because Ram was born here. And let me get your facts
And
right.
no
There has
evidence
been
of
an
that.
No
affidavit
evidence.
in the Supreme Court by the government itself stating that there is no evidence whatsoever. In fact, by the Archaeological Society of India also, that there is no fact whatsoever to state and to confirm that Lord Ram was actually born at that place. So your basic foundation of why the judgment is good is flawed in itself.
So I just never wanted to go on this Mandir Masjid kind of a thing, but I just want to clarify here. Maybe anybody who has done on a masjid, they have destroyed that masjid, and that is a wrong thing. But do you know how many temples in Kashmir have been burnt? 350 temples.
Are we settling scores?
Exactly, Ashwin. That doesn't justify.
so we
One
should
wrong does not
this is a
justify
wrong
the
thing. This is a
other.
wrong thing, wrong statement to say.
But you're
that-
justifying it, no? So
that,
what?
That intolerance has been to Muslims only.
I was at work and the entire debate about CA and NRC was going on, and working in news means that's a very big discussion topic. If I was to ever voice an opinion, the immediate rebuttal, it's often said in jest, but that doesn't of course make it okay, is, oh, why are you bothered? You can just go back to Pakistan. Even though I have absolutely no affiliation, but my identity is then brought into question, my loyalty towards my country is brought into question by these things. It goes back all the way to like middle school as well.
Hindus and Muslims can coexist peacefully in India.
Really?
Oh my God.
What is wrong with you people? Of course.
Yeah.
You are not born bigoted. You are turned into them. So all these politicians and all the men who wants to keep their power to themselves and don't want to work. So they need things to divide people.
I mean, I think we've been living fairly peacefully, to be very honest. There have been some incidences. There is obviously been a spike, but look at us. I mean, we are having such a sound conversation, and there has definitely been an increment in the number of inter-religious marriages, more Muslim scholars being part of public institutions. I'm a thorough optimist. I feel that the trajectory is definitely going uphill, despite all the hiccups that we are facing at this point in time for political reasons.
No, I don't agree that it's going uphill. I think it's getting worse as of now, since 2014, like Kabir said. But I think, yes, there's definitely a place to coexist because we have been doing that since even before independence, right?
Yeah, 1,000 years.
Yeah, we have coexisted for so long. Also, I think the situation on the ground, like we're all the privileged lot, so let's accept that. But even if you see very common people on the ground, also, I don't think there is as much as divide as is being portrayed by the media. And the only reason the media is portraying it is because the government, to its own benefit, wants to push this narrative that there is a Hindu-Muslim divide, that Muslims have been the cause of your trouble. They were the one whose needs were always put forth, and despite being majority, you were always neglected. So now we are going to look after you. So I think the media is just running that narrative full throttle since 2014, and it's just becoming venomous. Like Kabir said, fascism gets to you very, very slowly.
See, I'm not very much comfortable when you are saying after 2014 it had happened. So I don't agree. I don't agree on that with you on that particular thing. Yeah, Muslims and Hindus, if born in India, can coexist very peacefully, and only we need to leave the extremism. So whatever, maybe that Hindu extremism or the Muslim extremism. Extremism is the main issue which should be left behind.
You better defend yourself.
I think, like you said, it's a very optimistic view. It's very idealistic. I want it to happen. I don't know if that will happen. You're right, we have existed together for a very long time. We're barely existing together right now. When this is not a symbiotic relationship, we're not happy together. I personally blame it on the old guard. I think a lot of people have prejudice because of the experiences they've had, and that's trickling down to younger generations. Perhaps, not to make it sound extremely dark, but if that generations die out and conversations like these continue, there could be change. But again, keeping our privilege in mind, these conversations are just happening here. I am super afraid of having these conversations outside of these. I am afraid of backlash. I am afraid of being othered. I am afraid of being told that, oh, just go back to Pakistan where you belong then. You'll be comfortable there. So I don't know if it's happening outside of these sort of
in
places.
every educated household,
Education is very limited, though, again.
It's not that limited. Definitely, it's one of the points that we have to focus on.
I wanted to make the point out that why his incorrigible optimism is not misplaced. Things are bad right now, of course. And is there fight between Muslims and Hindus which weren't there earlier? Say Muslims came to India, say 1000, right? AD. Were there wars before that?
Of course, yes.
Were there Muslims when there was Mahabharata? Was there discrimination before Muslims came? There was a caste system. There is nothing particular about any one particular community. So Hindus and Muslims are not that, unique pair who can never be together. Majority of us agree that they can live together. All of us want them to live together. Only difference would be how much. So I think we should be optimistic. I implore all of you. We certainly can live together.
You just put up.
Pretty cool, man. Heavy stuff, man. I wish somebody was here because I really do kind of want to make comments on this. I'm going to read the comments, though. It says, as a Muslim myself, the way Ali approached some of the questions with lack of empathy was so disappointing, especially after Kabir was acknowledging Akhnet's loss. Being sorry for someone's loss does not mean they're taking responsibility, just showing respect. Another comment. The hell, my eyes are foggy. Is it my eyes? I think it's my eyes, bruh. Is it time to change my context, or it's just the light that fucked me up? I am Kashmir Pandit, and my mother personally knows Atkint and his family. She also immediately called her friend Atkint's sister as soon as she saw this. The account that Atkint giving has given is nothing compared to how horrifying his father was assassinated. He was tortured the entire night with cigarette butts. His house was surrounded by Islamic terrorists, and his father was later found in a dry well the next day. He was so young when that happened, and my mother recalled everything as soon as she heard what I was watching. I am absolutely shattered by how some people did not let him talk about his viewpoints. This middle ground video represents the political situation of the country very well nowadays and how absolutely difficult it has become to express viewpoints and even state facts. At the same time, I am nothing but proud of Atkins and the way he spoke. He was an absolute gentleman, so soft spoken, and my heart cries for him because he was surrounded with such insensitive people. This is exactly what infuriates Kashmiri Pandits in this country. I am glad we still take our space, even though exactly like some people here would not want us to do that. More comments. It says, I'm Indian, and I have to say the way Palava and Ali talked after Atkins expressed his trauma is truly heartbreaking, but in my opinion, not surprising. In fact, I was waiting for a moment like this because I feel like a lot of Indians have too strong biases to a point where they could be callous to the other side's struggle. And after finding out that Pahlavi is a politician, definitely not surprised. People want to be understood without having to understand. Another comment, Pahlavi said, let's be honest, we're all privileged, but the people on the ground, etc. Atkins literally just said his dad was assassinated when he was 15. Does that sound like privilege? Ali also disregarded Atkins' story by saying that things had been peacefully lately. Ankit and Kabir were great. Zahra and Chime made valid points. Ali was insensitive at times. Pahlavi was obnoxious, unsurprising since she's a politician. More. The way Pahlavi laughed at Chimney just tipped the pot of boiling water for me. First of all, he's the youngest one there. Second of all, why is she representing Hindus while defending only Muslims and completely sidelining Ankit and his story by agreeing and encouraging Ali's lack of empathy? This video is driving me insane. I want to see a video with actual Hindu representation where we can find middle ground without having someone with a political agenda. I am impressed with Ankit's patience with Kabir's patience, especially with Ankit considering his past. Shame on you, Jubilee, bringing an anti-Hindu politician to represent the Hindu community. It was just a forum to bash those two Hindus and make them feel bad about their identity. Ankit, having the most traumatic experiences, was shut down and belittled. That's so messed up. I think inviting Pahlavi was just because she was born in a Hindu family was wrong. Moreover, she is a politician of Indian National Congress, which automatically means she is anti-BJP current government, which is allegedly pro-Hindu. It would have been nice if someone who is unbiased, open to other people's opinions, and someone who doesn't push a political party's propaganda was invited. It felt like the discussion was between two Hindus and four Muslims. The way she was desperate to push her thoughts, not even letting the other person speak, was highly immature, and her double standards when she opposed to blaming the whole Muslim community for their crime against Kashmiri Pandits. But later, she was blaming the Hindu community for destroying one mosque, which was built on the ruins of a temple and was very close to Hindu community. She's quoting New York Times report, the newspaper narrative has always been against India as it suits their agenda. I have rechecked many of their claims on India and it gives a very left point of view which suits the narrative of breaking a country. People like Pahlavi are those foxes who stand against Hindu and Muslims having a discussion over communal issues. If you don't discuss it, won't be solved. I'm really happy that now both sides is acknowledging the wrongs made. The next generation should know all these things instead of hiding everything from them and making them ignorant. Few more comments. This calm show how strong Kashmiri Pandits are. Hats off to him. Should have put a Bangladesh or Pakistani Hindu and seen what they had to say. It would blow y'all's mind what we've been through and how little media rips we get. Kabir is so mature. We want more people like Akant and Kabir in our society to keep an eye on the people like Pahlavi and Ali. And extremely hurt the way Pahlavi and Ali have reacted to Akant's loss. It's absolutely ruthless. I'm really sorry for Akant's loss. As being a Muslim, I can't even imagine going through such a thing and still be so polite, understanding, and yet strong enough to sit or even be friends with the community people. With that community people, I have a huge amount of respect for him. I wish we could hear more from him than from Pahlavi or Ali, kind of like Zara and Kabir. But Aknik was the hero in here for me. People like him from both sides of the community can make India free from this chaos. Chazian Dono. Oh, Snoop. I can't speak that. That's a different language there. People from both sides need to acknowledge and respect each other's religion, religious beliefs, and practices. We need to keep our egos and stop taking our own religion as a supreme. We need to be compassionate about the pain, trauma, and losses the other side is going through because of extremist elements of our side. We are all Indians, firstly, and lastly, I hope we all emerge out from this hate one day. Jai Hind. It says 2 Hindis versus 4 Muslims. The debate itself is not justified. You can clearly see that this episode triggered a lot of people. It seems like most of the comments are Hindus that are trying to that aren't very sensitive to the Muslims. But then too, that is the majority, right, in India. So that would make sense that the majority of the comments will be coming from that side. But in reading the comments, it doesn't sound like they're trying to be compassionate to each other like they were saying in the video. You're just hearing comments of people who chose sides and kind of bashing each other. So sad. The India video that I played, the Gravitas, hold on. I kind of wanted to look at the comments on this before I go. This was the video I played before this one. It was Al-Qaeda threatens Indian Muslim nation silent. It says, this is the caption underneath the video. Al-Qaeda threatened to attack India as revenge for the comments made against Prophet Muhammad. The same Muslim nations who criticize the comments are silent on Al-Qaeda's threats. Alki Schumer called out their hypocrisy. Comments. Offended by everything, ashamed of nothing. We're the India unconditionally. When it suits them, they criticize. When it doesn't suit them, they're silent, and the silence speaks volumes of hypocrisy. Golden lines. Do not judge a nation by one person's remark, but by its response. Why don't Islamic countries understand that threatening suicide bombing in the name of Islam don't make Islam look good as a religion in the eyes of others? I guess for followers of Islam, violence is acceptable as jihad. So these things are acceptable to any Muslim. But non-Islamic people find it difficult to understand why Muslims fail to deplore such violent threats. I guess our thought process are very different than to Muslims. Are these bots? Like, do y'all really think that way? Y'all think all the Muslims, do all Christians think the same way? Do all Hindus think the same way? Get the fuck out of here. When my Muslim friend also protested on our honor, I got where their minds are. They can't be others. They don't want to see truth. They get offended for anything, and for them, Muslims' brotherhood is bigger than anything. threat of terrorism attack after insulting Prophet Muhammad is clearly means terrorism indeed has a religion. Ambedkar was right on Muslims, and looks like China took his words damn seriously while India continues to appease them. Oh, these words. Basically, India is alone in facing this threat. You may seem alone, but our prayers are with you, wishing you the Almighty's protection from Zambia. From protection from a Muslim minority who's being persecuted? That sounds like Israel and Palestine to me. And she mentioned that in the video. So what about Palestine? Those people are getting oppressed just like the Muslims here. So it's like it's okay that Israel is oppressing those people because they're Muslims anyways. We don't like Muslims over here. Being an atheist born in Muslim Orthodox family, I support Nupur. She quoted exactly the same thing from Hadith. I don't know what is making Muslim clerics around the world so insecure. Man, it's directly from the book. Long live India, love from Singapore. Terrorism must not be tolerated and must be eradicated. When we think of terrorism, we cannot help but also think of a specific religion. Ugh. If Nupur Sharma represents all of the Indians, then Al-Qaeda represents all of the Muslims. See? That's the only common sense comment I've freaking read. Or am I misunderstanding this? Oh, let me stop because my brain is hurting. The hate. I'm on hate overload now. Y'all don't get tired of the hate? Keeps y'all going, huh? Y'all wake up in the morning. It's what drives you in the morning, huh? That's how you get out of the bed? That's what keeps you going? That's how you go to your job? Hate.
Yeah. Just woke up.
Mad interesting to me. I was about to go to sleep and this just woke me up.